Okay, Dad, we are at the halfway point, and nearly 2,000 comments have been left on the Federal Trade Commission's proposed rules to rein in practices of car dealers. Let's do a quick round of applause. Thank you to everyone in the community who is pushing back against shady car dealer practices. But, Dad, this is a moment where we need to come back stronger. We've got 30 more days to put in public comments for these FTC proposed rules. Can you remind us what these rules are, Dad, and why it's so important that we make our voices heard?
The rules basically cover transparency in advertising. If you advertise the price of a vehicle, it has to include everything other than sales tax, title, and registration. You can't sell F&I products that add no value. It all has to do with transparency and.
Non-discriminatory practices for cash buyers, enhanced consent for those F&I products. Like, these are good things that materially help consumers.
And they're good things only if A, they get enacted, and B, there is enforcement. But the first step is getting them enacted. And so the FTC set up a 60-day time period for public comment. The window closes, I believe, on September 12th. So there's a little less than 4 weeks left from the date that we're filming this, which happens to be August 16th. The comments are overwhelmingly in favor of the FTC implementing these rules on behalf of consumers. Dealer groups and dealer organizations are realizing that the vast majority of comments are in favor of the rules, and they will be marshaling their forces to add comments against the rules. So we can't let up on the offensive. We have to stay on the offensive here. We have to find more and more people who have been troubled by what they encounter when they go in to buy a car to add their comments to the FTC site so that hopefully the comments are so consistently overwhelming that there's no way for the FTC not to enact them.
So let's bring up a couple points here. Earlier this month, or I guess it was end of July, YAA, were actually referenced in the industry publication, Automotive News, for the incredibly overwhelming support that all of our community has had for the proposed rules. A recent analysis done by a venture capital fund in the automotive space found that 99.2% of the 1,600 plus comments are in favor of the FTC proposed rules. So about 0.5% of the comments are against the proposed rules or wanting to slow it down. And very recently, Dad, the National Automobile Dealers Association said, quote, "It would be extreme if these rules went into measure because of how much document retention would be required on behalf of the dealership. They are grasping at straws." And I want to be very clear because I know a lot of folks that work at dealerships are going to watch this and be like, kid, you've never worked in a dealership before. You don't know. All I'm saying, guys, is it's going to be painful at first. And then you're going to have a much more efficient process because you're going to be transparent with your customers. Your compensation, you Pops, you Mr. Salesman or Mrs. Sales Manager, your compensation shouldn't be tied to how much gross profit you hold on to by getting a flop in the door. Like, these are good rules that push the industry forward, and you see the industry kind of latching on to these excuses for why they should stick around. This is where, as you said, Dad, we need to flex our muscle as consumers.
Yes.
We're voting with our pocketbooks. We're not going to dealers that are showing up essentially on the wall of shame over on markups.org. We're going to the dealers that do good business, and we're supporting rules like this from the FTC. And then honestly, Dad, it's going to be really important that you and I and the community here, we hold the FTC accountable to actually enforce these rules. They have to actually do things because we know a lot of dealerships are probably still going to try and skirt it because they make a lot of money by, selling products with no value or not fully getting consent before attaching an extended warranty or, advertising a price that isn't the actual price. So it's important. This is a very important moment. And like you said, we've got about 4 weeks to continue to remind people to be aware of this.
And let's face it, there are good dealers out there, some good dealers out there, and the good dealers that are out there are commenting in favor of these rules and regulations. And the reason for that is they want to drive a stake in the heart of the bad dealers out there. They want to get the bad dealers to stop doing what it is that they're doing and bring the transparency and the consistency that's needed to treat customers fairly. Dealerships can still make a lot of money by treating people fairly. It doesn't cost a dealership extra to treat you well. Actually, it probably pays.
Yeah, it really, really does. And especially if you're playing the long game, if you're not just trying to make a quick buck today and instead want to actually, I don't know, retain customers, have a positive experience. Again, some of the things that these rules are proposing would be that a car that already has gap insurance because you're leasing it through a company that provides the gap insurance to the leasing company couldn't be sold to you as another gap insurance policy that would never, legitimately never go into effect. Or what about a vehicle service contract on a leased vehicle when the lease is covered by the manufacturer warranty the entire time? Couldn't happen. Those $200 nitro fill tires couldn't happen if there's not any extra nitrogen in the air. Come on, man. I mean, these are just things that should already be in practice that the good dealers, of course, are already doing. So again, it's a call to action here. Voice your support. Leave a public comment. Please, please, please share this with a friend. Let's make sure that over the next 20 days, 25 days, the FTC knows that there's an organization out there, there's a group of people, and they are advocating on behalf of the consumer, and they are fed up and tired of getting taken advantage of.
Well said, young man.